Everyone, welcome to the nutrition final review session. Make sure you have your cameras on and you are participating in order to get full credit for your attendance. And like the other Jeopardy sessions, you're welcome to shout it out or type it in the chat. We will begin. The first section is on food supply. What is a genetically modified organism, GMO, or transgenic organism? Any organism altered by genetic engineering. Yep. And it has the FDA affirming its safety. So if you see the labels on them in the grocery store, they're typically approved by the FDA, which means they've been tested. And in the US, corn and soybean make up 90% of its production. And usually GMOs are created for specific crops that have um, more need in a community, and they are also modified to be more resilient to environmental challenges. And a lot of times this leads to like monoculture, which can be problematic for the land because you're growing the same thing from over and over again in the same soil. And a lot of times when the genetically modified organisms, they have a patent on it, so people can't reproduce it. Like they have to keep buying it from that organization. Um, yeah, GMOs. What is the temperature danger zone? Between 40 to 140 degrees. Yep. A temp range where bacteria can grow on food. That is true. It is the range where it could grow the fastest on food. And if you reheat food through a microwave or by like cooking it over the stovetop, it kills the bacteria but doesn't deactivate them. Also, some bacteria prefer very extreme temperatures to grow on too. So if you keep food refrigerated out of the temperature danger zone, sometimes they would foster very well in the refrigerated environment too. Why are food additives used? Improve test appearance or how long the product taste appearance or how long the product could last. Yep. And make sure you guys have your cameras on and are participating. Dr. Rose requested that is to be considered for your full credit for attending as well. These are used to reduce food spoilage by extending shelf life. Food additives could be like salt or even sugar. inhibiting enzymes, increasing food safety through agents like antioxidants, antimicrobials, and pickling agents. Like if you pickle cucumbers, they'll last longer than just cucumbers themselves. How can you reduce exposure to pesticides? Organic farming. Yeah, choosing to buy organic that doesn't have any pesticides is a great way to reduce exposure. Other ways is by washing your produce, trimming, consuming from variety, and then, yeah, choose organic. What is the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act? It is an act that mandates that any substances intentionally added to food must be reviewed and approved by the FDA to ensure its safety. The sections on global nutrition. What is chronic malnutrition? Stunting, yep. Long term lack of nutrition. Not eating a consistent and the diet is suboptimal and it leads to nutrition deficiencies, which includes both overweight and underweight individuals. It increases the risk of preterm births, intellectual disabilities, stunted growth, poor academic performance, decreased work output, and chronic diseases. So even if like a community that is a food desert or like during times of war are given a lot of food at one point, but if they were like in a famine for a long time or do not have access to healthy foods, then that like little burst of aid won't fix the chronic malnutrition. What is nutrition security?
Being able to maintain a healthy nutrition lifestyle, like being able to go get groceries and stuff like that, and being able to afford it.
Yeah, it is a new concept and it talks about like health inequities and ensuring access to both adequate food and proper nutrition. And talking about like how you say, Kevin, like on an individual level, having nutrition security is being able to have the ability to afford and go get groceries. What are strategies to address nutrition deficiencies?
I know one of them is health banks and like food stamps.
Yeah, EBT, food stamps help people who can't afford to get regular groceries to give them a budget, and it falls within parameters. But I like learned recently that like some fast food places accept EBT too, which is pretty awesome. They're cost-effective ways to target larger populations, micronutrition supplementation. We talked previously about how salt is iodide, has iodine in it because a lot of people, when they don't consume enough iodine, they develop goiters. So adding iodine to something everyone consumes, which is salt, is a great way to target larger populations and prevent goiters. So that's like a very specific example too. And taking like prenatals, which improves birth weight during pregnancy and increase height and weight in children. There's also WIC, and that's like food stamps, but specifically for pregnant mothers. So that helps improve birth weight and pregnancy. What is the US Farm Bill?
That's more food stamps, right? And more food security.
Yeah, that's a specific bill that allows that. It is passed every 5 years and it supports these programs that we talked about earlier. And every 5 years, they are reviewed to like increase their costs or to adjust like the qualifications because not everyone qualifies for food stamps, even if they don't make enough income, unfortunately. But yeah, what are food deserts?
Those areas where like organic grocery stores aren't close and it's more of like fast foods closer, like causing people to consume more unhealthy foods.
Yeah, it has a disproportionate amount of grocery stores that don't offer full service and it's not healthy. Like they probably have a lot of canned products, or it might not be culturally appropriate. Like they might have a lot of ingredients or like food that the community aren't used to eating. And they probably have like a lot more fast food restaurants to compensate for that. And this could also be because it might be really difficult to bring food there. Like there's no like supply chain. Like I know in Alaska, they spend a lot of money on the food because all the grocery stores have to import a lot of like fresh produce. Fertility, pregnancy, and breastfeeding. What is PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome? It is a hormonal disorder. There's been a lot of studies done on how nutrition is a great way to mitigate the symptoms of PCOS. It is a hormonal disorder affecting ovaries. Basically, if you guys take in physiology or anatomy, you'll learn that like the ovaries have a bunch of eggs, and as they grow, they release a bunch of hormones. And if you have PCOS, that means a bunch of your like the ovary is releasing or like growing a lot of eggs, but they're like immature, but they're still releasing a lot of hormones, and that causes like irregular periods, yeah, or absent period, yeah, difficulty becoming pregnant, high rates of spontaneous abortion, and it's really common, unfortunately, in females. So nutrition, eating a certain diet could help mitigate the symptoms. What are key nutrients for fertility? Zinc. Yeah. Folic acid, iron. Yep. Folate is specifically for DNA synthesis and metabolism. Antioxidants like vitamin E, C, selenium, zinc, and beta carotene, iron, and zinc. And these are super important to consume, even if you like aren't trying to have children in the moment because it helps keeps the fertility strong. Yeah. When does malnutrition and nutrition deficiency affect mother's ability to breastfeed? What trimester is it super important for a mother to like really focus on eating well? Yep, the second trimester. There's also studies being done on how like a lot of breastfeeding pregnant women, they they can't lactate, they don't have breast milk if there's something traumatic or like very stressful that happened to them in the second trimester. And even if they move out of that situation or that stressful time in the third trimester, only like specifically the second trimester is when they're deeply affected and won't be able to breastfeed. Why should females not consume high saturated fat for fertility? High saturated fat promotes insulin resistance and impaired ovulation. Why should you not have closely spaced siblings born less than 12 months apart? They're also called Irish twins. Like they exist. Like a lot of some mothers, like they purposely or accidentally have children that closely spaced apart. And the reason for that is why you shouldn't. It's because pregnant individuals like body increases risk for mother and baby because the body may not have fully recovered. Yep. From the first pregnancy. Yeah. After the mother gives birth, like birth is very traumatizing for the baby and the mother. And so it takes a lot of time to replenish the resources in the body. And if the mother wasn't able to have the time to do so, the second child will be depleted by nutrition, like is not able, and also it could cause more risk and health problems in the mother. Okay, teen nutrition. Which child is taller, a child in the 20th percentile or a child in the 60th percentile? Not the 20th, the 60th. But why the 60th? Taller than 60% of the children. Yep. Growth percentiles are super important for parents to like um understand because it tracks, it's like the study done in percentiles, it is tracking a child's growth. And when they're really little, they grow at a certain time. And when the doctors are like, oh, your child's on the 20th percentile, that means they're bigger than 20% of their peers and they'll stay on that trajectory their whole life. But or until they're fully developed. But the thing is, if they deviate from their growth percentile charts, it means that they probably have a health problem or a nutrition deficiency. So, like, once they deviate, like, doctors, like, quickly, like, try to figure out what it is because, or else they'll, like, not be able to catch up. But the 60th percentile basically means that they are taller or bigger than 60th percent of their peers. There's this kid I babysit, she's 11 and she's in the 99th percentile and she's like 5'3". She's taller than me already, which is unfortunate to babysit someone so tall. But it's kind of fun to know that there are children who are like varying throughout all these percentiles. Where does a child's main source of nutrition comes from for the first 6 months of their life? Or it's recommended at least. Not milk. You should never give an infant milk. Yeah, breast milk. If you give them dairy, they could actually get really sick from it because they don't have the immune system for dairy. Breast milk or formula. Some parents I know like breastfeed their child until they're like 2 years old because breast milk has so much benefits for them. Like there's a lot, like you develop the antibodies, the immune system, as well as it covers a lot of the nutrition that a child needs at that age. However, it is understandable, like in our society, a lot of mothers don't have the capacity to breastfeed or they might not be able to, and it's common as well. So formula is a great alternative. Which stage of life does the brain grow the fastest? Infancy. A lot of times you can like see how infants they look kind of like cartoonish because their head is like freakishly large compared to the body. And as they grow, like the rest of their body is gonna grow to catch up. Like a lot of toddlers I know, they have like really big heads and like tiny arms, and they can't even like close their arm because their brain is growing so rapidly at such young age. What vitamins should parents especially pay attention to for infancy? Vitamin D, K, B12 if breastfeeding parent is vegan. Yeah, a lot of infants might be given a vitamin K shot um, when they're breastfeeding because breast milk does not have that. So it helps them meet those nutrition needs. What supplement should children consume? Like you're at a grocery store with a child and they're looking at all those pretty vitamins with like Bluey or like Paw Patrol, Flintstones, and they want one because it looks pretty. And you're thinking, what should you get for them? This is actually a trick question. Children should not be consuming supplements. Like we talked about before, the supplement industry is unregulated and children have tinier bodies. So even if their doctor when their doctor says that they should be prescribed supplements, and they should be consuming it. But usually it's unregulated industry. And if you're going to like a pharmacy or a grocery store and there's like a plethora of vitamins to take, if they're eating regularly, and having a diverse diet, they typically don't need supplements. Okay, other. What is Listeria monocytogenes? It's a foodborne illness. If you guys ever took your food handler certification, this is one to consider because it is especially problematic when pregnant individuals consume food that is infected with Listeria. It could cause flu-like symptoms and it could lead to spontaneous abortions. It could be found in unpasteurized milk, soft cheeses made from raw milk, raw vegetables like cabbage and sprouts, and raw animal products. Like we talked about before, how some bacteria could thrive like really well in the temperature danger zone. This is one of them that is likes to be in the cold, likes to be in refrigeration. So if a pregnant individual wants to eat ham, just cook the ham. It's not worth the risk. What is direct food aid? And why can this be problematic? The example we used earlier of like if there was like a war and there was a community isolated from food resource, um, why is it problematic for people to like fly in food for them? Creates dependence on outside sources, provides to people need food flown in. That's true. Short term, it's good. Like it's helpful. Like it's giving them something. However, it creates a dependence. Then the people will not be able to create systems for themselves and depend on the direct food aid. Also, the direct food aid might not be culturally appropriate. Like I remember learning how in the Korean War they like brought a bunch of spam and stuff, and like the Koreans never had spam, so it's kind of like a culture shock. Um, yeah. Oh, it also brings down local food prices. Um, yeah. Why do people farm insects? Sustainable source of protein, and they also like, yeah, they're sustainable because they don't require as much resources as like livestock, and they take up less space physically. They're also rich in iron, calcium, B vitamins, and so they require fewer inputs compared to other protein sources. They don't taste the same. If you guys ever want to try insects, the Solvang beef jerky experience sells crickets. If you want to try them, but yeah, they're also more affordable. It's probably cheaper to buy like a pound of crickets than a pound of beef. It might be cheaper too in the future. Why is offal a sustainable solution? Offal is like all the innards, all of the like not pretty parts of a meat. That's kind of food waste. Yeah. It's like the head to tail method is the method people have been leaning towards because you're eating every part of the animal, not just like the pretty chicken breasts or like the pretty cuts of steak. Tri tip, you know? You're eating all of it, not just those parts. But like in a lot of Western grocery stores, they only sell the pretty things. And it's unfortunate they will have to throw away all the other bits. But if you guys haven't tried pate, which is cooked liver, like that's pureed, it's so savory. And it's like if you're iron deficient, like liver is very high in um, iron. You could get them at Trader Joe's too. But yeah, it cuts down food waste, lowers exports costs, and provides more iron, zinc, vitamin B6 and 12 than lean muscle meat. Okay, last question. What are viruses? Foreign pathogen that causes illness or disease. They can only reproduce and live in a host body. I remember like there was this kid who asked me this question, an 8-year-old, and I was like, that is a really big question to be asking for an 8-year-old. But it's important to know as a nutrition student or anyone in the medical field because they really can't do anything outside their host bodies. However, some viruses can jump from animal to human, which is rare, but it happens. And they are tough to kill and often affect long term care facilities. And they're also difficult to test for. And they're very persistent once they find their host cells. Okay. If anyone has any question, I'll be here to stay, but make sure you review everything else. It is a cumulative test, even though I didn't have time to make material that is cumulative. Um, if you guys have any questions or want anything to go over, I'm here for the rest of the hour. And make sure you put your name and your email in the chat so I could take attendance. And thank you to everyone who participated.